Okay, so fresh off the story with Kim Jong Un, we have another Asian centralized story. China is it preparing for war with the U.S.? It says there's a reason Beijing is aggressively pursuing a policy of total nation self-sufficiency. Hmm. Well, I don't want to add fuel to the fire, and I don't want to scare people, but it's a possibility. But it's always been a possibility. I mean, the policy of brinkmanship, mutually assured destruction, it only gets us so far, and so far it's gotten us this far, and it can continue. But it also, you know, I don't think that the Chinese nation is. I don't think the people in power are dumb enough to be like, okay, well, if the entire world goes into a nuclear winter, what country do we have to rule? What would be the point? You know what I mean? So I don't know. But again, I'm not an expert, so I don't really know, the psyche of that kind of stuff. I just research it, the extremities of it and whatever, falls into my lap. And this is one of those things. So it says China is on a war footing. While the COVID-19 outbreak has exposed some grave political miscalculations behind decades of international strategic relations with Beijing, the depths of our problem are only just beginning to dawn on us. Okay, so before we go any further, of course, always, a little gravy, smack like, what I'm saying, all that good stuff. But I want to know, just without looking at any infographics or anything, any channels like that, what do you guys think? Squaring up, U.S. or China, who would win? Let me know in the comment section. Let me see. Anyway, let's go ahead and read the story. Fueled by our desire for ever cheaper goods, the world has collectively sleepwalked into a supply-side dependency on the People's Republic. The gamble had been pitched as a trade-off. China was expected to evolve democratic norms and embrace relations with the international community while we got richer from globalization. But we have been played. Whether it's clothing and factory fashion, personal protective equipment, or hardware parts, too many of our manufactured goods today rely on made-in-China supply chain. It's a really biased article, isn't it? I love it. Okay. So at the same time as it was busy taking control over our manufacturing, China was busy cloning Western software via her lackadaisical respect for international copyright rules. And while the world relies on China for hardware, China avoids software dependency on outsiders by creating substitutes. TikTok to replace Snapchat, Weibo instead of Twitter, WeChat and Renren for Facebook. Indeed, there is a alternative Chinese version for almost any platform. With manufactured goods and hardware made in China and software increasingly cloned in China, of natural resources, though the Belt and Road Initiative, a 21st century Silk Road connecting China to Europe over a network of land and sea trade routes, the People's Republic has embarked on huge infrastructural projects in 60 countries, including loans and construction projects that secure key ports and mines as collateral for China for payment. Damn, China is playing dirty. Okay, so look to Pakistan, Africa, or Southeast Asia nations to see China's rapid expansion and ownership of mines and ports. Look to UK and China's attempt to secure our telecom industry via the Huawei deal, her recent purchase of the British Steel, and her quest to secure the nuclear power industry. Dang. Hope they resisted. I need to do a little research on that. Okay, so Beijing even secured a deal to develop British nuclear station Hinkley Point C and Somerset, thus paving the way globally for China to enter the global market to dominate nuclear power. Oh, damn, boy. Okay, so over decades, we have naively outsourced our lost manufacturing software, natural resources, and critical infrastructure to China. The economic benefit of globalization are well trodden, yet as COVID-19 has shown, it has left our society vulnerable during a major crisis, unable to manufacture the most basic of necessities such as PPE, personal protective equipment. Meanwhile, China has achieved self-sufficiency. That's what I'm saying. Our leaders are lazy, man. They're just lazy. They're just looking to enrich themselves and with the guise of Democratic Republic, you know what I mean? Okay, so while pursuing economic dominance abroad, China's communist one-party state has centralized political power at home, gained unprecedented command over her own population via wide-ranging and well-documented spy tech, and placed anything between 1 to 2 million Uyghur Muslims and Muslims and gulags. And nobody does anything. Nobody says anything. Nobody does anything. Nobody does anything. So, concerning what we know of colonial history, there's a little room for doubt that China is at a pre-colonial stage. States at this stage attempt to centralize domestic power under a strong leader, dominate global supply chains, and monopolize industry, all the while expanding abroad to secure natural resources. China is aggressively pursuing total national self-sufficiency, and the question arises as to why. My conclusion, whoever wrote this article, is that China is preparing for war. Total, not limited war. The kind that seeks to rebalance the world order, tipping it in her favor by replacing the U.S. as a dominant global power. Historically, major conflicts has arisen when the leading global power is challenged by a rival, a problem known as the I'm not even going to try to say that trap. And China is expected by some metrics to overtake the United States and the world's largest economy this decade. Also, and crucially, unlike us, China is preparing for the next type of war. The People's Republic knows that she cannot beat the U.S. militarily, and she knows what that type of ground war is almost over. Instead, by securing global supply chains, maintaining IT dependence, and having a cast iron grip over her own population, China can focus on building her cyber and biological war capabilities while remaining relatively safeguarded against the same herself. Considering all of this, from steel to nuclear to telecoms, our policy towards China until 2020 can be best described as one of the miserable failed economic appeasement. Damn. From China's perspective, she has successfully gifted us a Trojan horse. Oh, man. So, what's the solution? We don't take the bait, prepare for war 2? No, we must first understand what happened and grasp how we should willingly hand China the very tools in which should... Okay, so blah, 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 blah. Anyways, I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Because one thing I do know when it comes to our politicians, we have to be harder. We have to completely turn our back on the two-party system. We have to only support third party. Only independence, third party, only. And if you do that, if everybody in the nation does that, turns their back on the Republicans and the Democrats, and then they still do the bullshit that they do, then you have a constitutional convention, and you just solve yourself. You rid yourself of the problem. If you don't know what a constitutional convention is, it's totally a full video for its own day. But essentially, it's like a backdoor safety clause that the founding fathers left in the Constitution. Like, you know, in the event that our government is so corrupt that it ceases to function, which has been the case for the last 20 years, then we get to come together as citizens with 3/4 majority of the states and have a convention, and we get to rid ourselves of the laws in the Constitution that we don't want and impose the laws that we do want, as long as it's in a democratic republic style. So that's what needs to happen, and in order to do that, we have to turn our backs on the Democratic Party and the Republican Party and show them that we have the power because we are more, they are few. That's pretty much what that is. So you guys got to keep protesting, even when the economy opens back up. You guys got to keep protesting. You guys got to fight. You always resist, persist, always, for the sake of resisting, because that's what makes you American. Anyways, I love you guys, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.